and I talk all things gaming and apparently don't know the definition of serendipitous. I am Darrell, and I am joined by Brandon.
Hi, people. I do know what serendipitous means. Continue.
And Christy.
Hi, everybody.
And Gabe.
I heard the word in a song once.
All right, well, that's gonna. You know what? The post show we will talk about serendipity, all about it. But for the current show,
So Darrell's going to have we're going to have an English lesson with Darrell.
I'm gonna be able to use that degree I haven't used since 2000, and I won't say the date because I don't want people to know how old I am. But since 2000
Is it how old you are, or is it you're just so smart that you graduated early?
That could also be true.
This man is like Dexter from Dexter's Laboratory. Went into college at like 6.
I am nothing like Dexter. He's so disgusting.
I mean, you do have a sister.
Does she annoy you?
I have more than one sister, so I'm still not like Dexter.
Well, we don't know that Dexter doesn't have more
But
than
does
one.
any of those older sisters annoy you though?
Well, I'm not gonna say that answer to that on the podcast.
Live on the podcast.
What I am gonna say is that
Yes?
I have a few things that I want to talk to you guys about. Not necessarily all news, so let's get the boring news stuff out of the way first, and then we can talk about all the fun stuff, and then we will be out of here. Yeah, I think the news is kind of boring. So we're gonna start from the bottom and work our way up, right? I think that's a good way to start. So the Switch has managed to pass the Wii's lifetime sales, and so we're gonna talk about what that means and what it means for Nintendo and Nintendo's future in hardware development.
Yeah. Well, I'll keep this pretty brief then, so we can get through this new stuff. Honestly, I think it's not that surprising. The Switch started off really strong, but unlike the Wii, has kind of like maintained that momentum. Where the Wii started off really strong, but near the end it was kind of like petering off in sales. It became a very casual system. The attach rate for like the first party games was getting real low. But the Switch like may not have started off as quite as strong as the Wii, but it has maintained that for like 6 years, and it's still to the very end going strong. Where the Wii near the end, like there was like we got to move on. Where the Switch. The next console is supposed to come out next year, as we talked in our last podcast, but they're still coming out with titles. Like, so I don't see that going down anytime soon. And I think the obvious thing is just like the portability / home console experience, just something that's probably going to be in future Nintendo consoles DNA going forward, which I think can only help their sales. So yeah, that's all I got to say about that.
When you said portability, I started dancing because it reminded me of the PlayStation Portal, which I'm gonna get.
You know, it's funny. Quick sidetrack off of that. You know, I was talking about like I would understand why someone would get that, blah blah blah. So I was thinking to myself the other day. I was like, I shouldn't have said that because I literally bought a Steam Deck, and guess what? I went up to my bed to play my Steam Deck because I didn't feel like turning on my PC to play Baldur's Gate. So I was like, you know what? I see it. Exactly. I was like, I see it.
Exactly.
I see it.
You could do the same exact thing with your PlayStation Portal, which is exactly what I plan on doing because I don't have a Steam Deck library pretty much because I don't have a gaming PC, which is why I bought a Steam Deck. That was a choice that I won't say was good or bad because some people like to say things about my decisions and I won't call them out on the podcast, but you know who you are, and I don't regret any decision I've ever made in my life. I'm happy.
I don't believe that.
I'm happy. I promise. Wow, this is derailing. Yeah. Anybody else have anything else to say about the Switch passing the Wii U sales? I mean, the Wii sales. I don't know why I keep saying Wii U. Oh my god, the Wii, which sold better than the Wii U.
That's not incorrect. It definitely passed.
And yeah, it definitely passed. Definitely passed.
A long time ago.
Yeah.
No, nobody
I guess
else.
that's no.
No one else.
Hey, the news is gonna go quick, I guess.
The news is
like
gonna go quick. Yeah, so next up, I don't know if you guys have seen this. I know that Brandon and I have seen this, but I don't know if you guys have seen this. The budget for the One Piece live action film has been confirmed to be 16 million euros per episode, which is $17.27 million in US dollars, making it more expensive than Game of Thrones at 13.7 million euros or 14.79 million USD per episode budget. So let's discuss the faith that Netflix has in this adaptation to have this much budget on placed in per episode, and whether the footage shown thus far justifies that cost.
I
Yeah.
haven't seen the footage.
It's okay. The answer is no.
I haven't seen him do his
Great.
stretchy thing yet,
I
but
have.
like I haven't. But
It does not
but
look like it is $17 million.
If
Yeah.
if we're going based on the first trailer, I'd agree with you. But I've seen like literally every trailer, and that it's definitely showing this budget. But the thing is, it goes beyond like Luffy's like abilities. It's like everybody's ability and like the monsters and the ships around. But let me backtrack a little bit before I can go too deep into this. Yeah, Netflix has definitely a lot of faith in this budget, and I think it has like a lot to do with well, there's a few factors. I'm pretty sure that One Piece on like the anime itself, when they added it to Netflix, did pretty well for them. So I think they understand that there is an audience for it that there probably wasn't there like a few years ago. That's one. Two, the creator himself is involved with this, and so many people that actually are fans of it are behind it. I think Netflix really wants this one to be the one that works because they've done so many other anime adaptations from Cowboy Bebop to Death Note that have obviously gone really badly, but one that actually has promise, I think, is something that they would really want to invest in because, and I think that, to be clear, I think this is the last time they're going to put something like this much effort into like an anime adaptation. If this one doesn't work, then Netflix is not going to stop trying to do adaptations, but I don't think they'll be giving it as much budget, to be clear. So this has got to be the one that hits. But yeah, I think based on the trailers I've seen, based on like the process they went to get the actors for this, I think they're pretty true to the characters from the anime/manga themselves. They're giving a lot of attention to detail. It definitely doesn't feel cheap. Whether or not it needs that much money, like Game of Thrones money, definitely up for debate, but it does not feel cheap. Like it definitely feels like effort is going into the characters, the sets, and the CG. And I'm just looking forward to seeing how it goes. Like it's so funny. I've got with this particular adaptation, I've gone from being, oh no, this is a terrible idea. That was the first step when I first heard the announcement. Then I heard the creators involved, and I was like cautious. Then I saw trailers, and I started getting cautiously optimistic. By this point, after seeing just how much passion everyone involved with this seems to have for it, I've now just gone a full optimism. Like now I am left. If this somehow ends up being bad, I will actually be in pain. But but the caution has just gone away. I do have faith that this is going to end up being good. I like the way it's going.
Hey, Brendan, what's that girl name?
Nami?
Nami.
Can somebody send me a picture of the live action Nami? While I talk.
Would you like me to do that now?
Yes, now while I talk about
I will
this,
get it.
if
I
you
will
can,
get it.
if you don't mind.
Go for it. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'ma watch it, but also Game of Thrones budget was for nothing because at the end they just stopped caring anyway with like water bottles and stuff.
They did stop caring
anyway. So like
they did stop caring. But well, from what I understand of Game of Thrones, because I've watched all Game of Thrones, I feel like it's the creators that just didn't care at the end. I feel like everyone else did, but they're ultimately at the mercy of like the ones who've been show running that thing from the beginning. And when they stopped caring, it just kind of trickled down and affected everything on every level, which is unfortunate given how long that show went. But there you go.
Well, sure. I was just talking about like budget wise, like it's a lot of money to be spending on something that nobody cares about. But as far as this goes, I've seen the trailers. I think the cast looks really nice. Like as far as people go, I haven't been wowed by anything I've seen from that. But I was waiting for the picture, but I'll just go ahead and say it. The biggest thing that I think is like horrible is Nami's wig, and I feel like they did a horrible job with it because they really tried her, and she looks horrible. And unless it has been fixed, I do not believe you're spending that much money, and you got her walking outside looking like that. And that's the only thing I have to say about that.
And the picture just came up.
I mean, can you send? I would still like to see it.
It's on the podcast chat, and
okay, because like maybe I'm wrong.
Oh yikes! That
But I
wig
do
is
remember. No, yeah, it's still a really bad wig. So where's the 17 million going? Because it ain't going to her head.
It's probably all the stretchy effects.
The
True.
stretchy
It's
effects
probably
do
all the
CGI.
stretchy effects. Yeah.
I haven't seen the stretchy effects yet. I just said that.
No, but I mean, it would
They
make
do look
sense.
good, though. Which is really hard to mess up.
I'll Okay, if you say so. I think what does look good are like the character profiles of like the different characters. I feel like they've done a really good job at making them look like their anime counterparts. For like I've seen some of them, except for that horrible wig that Nami has. Like some of the rest of them, they look pretty good. I'm gonna watch it. You know, we'll see what happens. Anybody else? 3,
No.
2, 1.
Yo.
Fight! All right, next up, let's talk about fun stuff.
Yay.
I don't.
So that's all the news? Fun stuff now?
Yeah, unless you have more news to talk about.
No, I am not pulling out some last minute news in the middle of the podcast.
Pull up last minute news right now.
Jarrell's the best.
Oh, I'm not as good as Christy, so if I'm the best,
Oh, what
you're
the
better.
fuck? Phil Spencer about Nintendo. We gotta talk to. No, I'm kidding.
I have to now like bleep that out before somebody like believes it. So there are two things I want to talk about. One of them is about the Xbox Series S, and the other one is all about just video games in general for this year. So which would you guys like to? Which would you prefer to talk about first?
Let's talk about the Xbox thing.
Yeah. Let me trash on something.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was unexpected. So, friend of the show who hasn't been on the show in a while, David, who I have to get back on the show, he posted an IGN article that I want to talk to you guys about, and that article was titled, "New Naruto game will let Xbox Series X players block users on Xbox Series S, Bandai Namco confirms." If you're an Xbox Series X or PlayStation 5 player and you don't want to be stuck with 30 frames per second in online fights in the upcoming Naruto Cross Boruto Ultimate Ninja Storm connections, Bandai Namco has you in mind. The developer is offering a feature to PS5 players to block PS4 from online matching, as well as Xbox Series X players to block Xbox One and notably Xbox Series S, as noted in the game's list of specs on its official website. So first of all, that is from IGN by Shadow T. That's not from IGN. That's from somewhere else by Shadow T from IGN. But that doesn't matter. What does matter is, how do you guys feel about the ability of players able to block those on lesser consoles? And by that, I mean, obviously the PS5 to PS4 makes sense, but a lot of people were shocked, I would say, by the Xbox Series S. And the Xbox One, obviously the Xbox One because it's Xbox Series, Xbox One. Oh my God, yes, the Xbox One because it's last gen, but a lot of people are surprised about the Xbox Series S. So first part of this conversation is, how do y'all feel about players being able to block Xbox Series S?
The poor Xbox Series S players, man.
I
They
completely
wanted to
disagree.
join
Block
the
them
next
immediately.
gen, but at a lower price point.
So
I think that-
Jarrell, I actually agree with you.
Yes,
Like,
block them immediately. If you're playing any type of game and someone's stuck at 30 FPS and you're like at your 60 or 120 FPS on your screen, and you are, especially if it's like a fighting game or something, like, it depends on the type of game, but if any of your system is held back and it's going to somehow destroy your personal experience based on lag, based on frames per second, anything, you should have the ability to cut them out. I think that's totally fine.
Yeah, no, I agree, because like, I'm gonna just like ignore the console part of it just for a brief second, because yeah, like you said, Jarrell, that exists in fighting games where a lot of modern fighting games have the ability to you can like limit what kind of players you want to fight. Like, you could either put the option to fight person of any kind of internet connectivity. You could do like 3 bars or higher, or you can just like, if you got really like pristine internet, you can just do only 5-bar fights with other 5-bar people.
And to be honest,
so this, to me,
if you're to be honest, if you're playing those types of games ranked anyway, you're not playing on Wi-Fi. You're playing plugged in. Period. Like,
LAN.
no, you're playing LAN. You're not playing Wi-Fi anyway.
Ethernet.
Yes.
Yeah, so honestly, this is kind of like just an extension that I think I don't like the Series S players, like, they're not gonna have a shortage of opponents, even if there's being like specifically excluded. Like, they'll find people online.
You sure?
But there's
I mean, with the amount of shit that they were talking about, like, oh yeah, the Xbox digital version is a lot cheaper than the PS5 one. Of course, I'm gonna get that. There better be enough players for them to play with.
which I'm gonna talk about that in a second, or I
Of
think
course,
you'll
so.
talk about that in a second, like the price point and whatnot. But before we even get to that, just like, yeah, no, like, I think there'll be enough players for the Series S players to play with, and I think having the option for the Series X players is fine. Like you said, PS5, PS4, obviously that's a good thing. And but I get where the controversy comes from, because technically Series X and Series S are the same gen. But like I said, it's the same deal as what I just said about like the bar connection options. Like you said, if it somehow it hinders someone's experience, it's good that they have the option if they don't want to play anything less than 60 FPS. I get it. Like if you bought this, like if you spent the other $200 to get this like big machine, and then you're being told 30 FPS because your opponent doesn't have it. Sure, I get it. So keep your opponents to only 60 FPS so you can get the most out of your performance.
Yeah, but
it's an option.
Wholly, this topic was specifically just because it is its current gen console that's being shut out.
For sure.
So, specifically, do you want to speak to that part? Because that's what I want to know.
Yeah, no, I really don't. I honestly don't think it's a big deal. If I'm
I think that's horrible.
I get it, but I don't know, man. If just giving the people that option, I don't think it's inherently a bad thing, even if it is the same generation.
Sorry. Yes, I agree with you. That's my point. Sorry, I do think it's really bad. I'm sorry. I think it's great to give people the option. What I think is bad is that what I think is bad is that the Xbox Series S is supposed to be a cheaper entry into this current gen, and one of the biggest things was like it's almost just as good as this. The only thing is it's not physical. They didn't really go too much into like the spec differences for I think for the average person to understand that it's more than just not getting a disc. I think that hasn't been communicated well by Xbox. And so
I see what you're saying.
Because of that, I do think that it's kind of really bad on their part to put out a console and tell people they can come into this next gen, but then be shunned out of it because their new console thing is not up to par with the normal one.
I don't know though.
Wasn't there writing on the wall before this?
Mm-hmm.
Was there?
I wanted to say, wasn't there writing on the wall before this where Microsoft came out and said, or was it? I think some developers, they were like saying that they didn't want to develop for the Xbox Series S just because of the limitations it has.
I mean, a big one.
Right but that was after the console was already released.
Yeah,
that's a good months after.
Not before. Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, it was never one of these like, oh, this is going to be a lesser machine. I don't think I've ever seen Microsoft rather specifically talking about the fact that this is going to be a lesser machine that's going to have issues, because these developers didn't know that until like right now when we're finding out things. Like, perfect example, one of the reasons that Baldur's Gate 3 is coming out this Friday on PS5 and it had no release date for Xbox is because they literally couldn't get split screen co-op to work on the Series S. Like, that's why the game had no like confirmed release date for, and this is a huge game. Like, I've talked about just how ridiculous the numbers are for Baldur's Gate 3. And to not have that on your console because you're being held back by a current gen portion of your console is ridiculous. Now, did they figure it out? Yes. How did they figure it out? Baldur's Gate 3 is going to release on... No, actually. It's going to release on the Series X and still not be out on the Series S. So you can't even play Baldur's Gate 3 on your Series S until they figure out what to do to it sometime next year so that actual Xbox owners can still play the game. Like, this is a huge
Series
deal.
S owners.
Yeah, and I feel like
for Series S on that instance, for sure. So, yeah, to your point about, like, not communicating well enough that it's, like, a weak system, I think the consumer, to a degree, understood that because, listen, like, I think let me finish.
Did they really though?
Let me explain. I think there's the general sense among consumers that you get what you pay for. That if you're getting like this cheaper, like, here's the thing with the PS5 digital only, it's $100 cheaper. But let me finish, please. With the PS5, there's two different versions of PS5 you can get right now. You can get the regular version that has the disc drive, and you get the one that doesn't have the disc drive. The one that doesn't have the disc drive is $100 cheaper, but otherwise is a functional PS5. Like, there's no differences whatsoever. With the Series X and Series S, this is a $200 difference. $500 gets you the Series X, and then $300 gets you the Series S. And yeah, like obviously, I think a consumer understand no disc drive or whatever, but I would like to. maybe I'm overthinking like what a consumer would think about when making these kind of purchases. But I would like to think that the more savvy consumer will understand why is this one $200 cheaper when the competitor is $100 cheaper. Gabe, what's up?
I don't like it when people waste their time. So I'm gonna save you from keep going because everything you said might be right, but at the same time, completely wrong. Do you want to hear how Microsoft advertised the Xbox Series S?
That's what I'm saying.
I'm on their page right now. Xbox Series S, next gen performance in the smallest Xbox ever. Introducing Xbox Series S, delivering next-gen performance in our smallest Xbox ever, available November 10th at $300, whatever. At Team Xbox, we always strive to put you, the player, at the center of the gaming experience, letting you play how and where you want and delivering experiences for all types of players. It's with this spirit in mind that we're excited to introduce to you the Xbox Series S, an all-digital next-gen console designed to deliver everything that is core to next generation gaming. Faster loading times. This one's going to be great because we're talking about FPS right now. Mm-hmm. Higher frame rates. We're talking about games being locked at 30, which is last gen higher frame rates, and richer, more dynamic worlds. The smallest Xbox ever, whatever. And they continue talking shit. As a consumer, because when they announced the Xbox Series X and S, I was like, oh wow, that's cool. You know, the digital version of the Xbox Series S looks like it holds up to the power. It looks like it's going to be good. And now we're finding out that it's not.
Question real quick. Does it also have, because I don't remember, does it have 1 terabyte of storage as well, the Series S? Or is it less?
Let me see if they present that at any point.
But keep going. I'll look it up. I don't want to distract you.
Yeah. No, but that's what I was saying. And okay. Yeah, here now they have the specifications of the X and S next to each other. Performance target, because again, this is what we're talking about. Performance target. The X runs at 4K at 50 FPS up to 120 FPS. The S runs at 1440p at 60. They specifically said not up to, they said at 60 FPS up to 120 FPS. And we're finding out, oh yeah, it does have 1 terabyte. Yeah, that was right underneath. Sorry. So yeah. Oh no, that's expandable. Oh no, their storage goes up to 512.
It's not 1.
So as a consumer, unless I work at Xbox and I look at them, put that machine in front of me, I'm gonna think I'm getting just a cheaper new gen console, and we're finding out that you're not because things are being locked at 30 FPS, and that's one of the biggest things now. It's does my game run over 30 FPS? Because apparently that just changes the way you play. But so that's Xbox's own words about their console.
Okay.
And the other reason I agree with that too is because even when we were talking about it, I remember when we did our console watch thing, I was defending them by saying this is a great option to get into next gen gaming because I didn't know that this was gonna, I didn't know that something like this Baldur's Gate 3 issue would happen. I didn't know that people were gonna be not able to play like next gen games on an Xbox Series S until how many years later that we're finding out just how limiting this console is.
Okay, so taking all that into consideration, I think what we have here, best case scenario, Microsoft grossly underestimated what this underpowered Series next-gen console would be able to do. Worst case, they straight up lied. So it's one or the other. But continuing what I was saying, at the very least, though, they at least understood that it's definitely wasn't going to be. Obviously, it's way weaker, and I'll get to that in a second. Way weaker than the Series X. The fact that it can't even run certain games at this point. But they did understand it was weaker, which is why it's $200 cheaper compared to the PS. Again, the PS5 was $100 cheaper. But more importantly than was that?
But with an average consumer, though, do you think that they would see the $100 or $200 difference and be like, something's off?
Well, that's what I was saying. I fully admit that I could be grossly overestimating what the average consumer would do. Like, I could very well be wrong about that. I fully admit. But I would like to think that they would see $200 and, like, understand the difference. But the point that you guys have made, which, again, I didn't even consider, is that they, again, advertise things that clearly weren't true or, again, they overestimated it. But I think that's even worse on the developer side as well. That now they're really starting to understand just how much weaker the Series S is compared to the Series X. Like, again, I think both the consumer and the developer thought the Series S was going to be a lot more than it was. And now we're a few years into the cycle, and it's clearly not, to the point that certain games can't even run on it. And we talked about, I think a few weeks ago, maybe even a few months ago, about the story about developers saying, we're just not going to, we cannot keep supporting the Series S. This console is too weak. And even back then, I was like, shit, this is a new advertised as next gen console, and we're already at the point where they're talking about not supporting the Series S. That's not a good look. Not a good look whatsoever.
Yeah.
You know what's gonna suck? That was just this little random tangent. If this happens to the Switch and the next console that comes after the Switch,
I don't know what you mean.
like, never mind. Just keep going. I'll talk about it later.
Okay.
It makes sense in my head.
Like how the next.
So David goes on to say, because I mean, unless anyone else wants to talk about, blocking players.
Nothing on that, but I do have something to say about what David is going to continue to say. So we'll
okay,
I'll touch on that.
Do either of you want to talk about blocking players on the Series S, which is a next-gen console? No, you're good. I feel like
That's
you've all
kind of funny.
Okay, all right. So his next tweet was, excuse me, let me scroll down. Quote, like I've been saying from the start, the Xbox Series S was a mistake, and its limitations will only become more apparent and cause more problems for users and developers in the coming years. This system should not have been released. And then he follows up by saying it would have been far better to do a digital-only option at $400 instead of an extremely cut-down system at $300. And now the 1TB Series S is launching at $400 instead of phasing out and replacing the original Series S SKU at $300, which he considers another big mistake. So basically, now I want to talk about his follow-up tweets, which are, do you think that, after having this conversation, that the Xbox Series S was a mistake? And do you think that it would have been the smarter move to come up with the $400 Xbox Series S 1TB version to completely replace the $300 version? Or do you think leaving the $300 version out along with another version is the right move? And do you think that this is going to be a bigger problem in the coming years?
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be a problem in the coming years. Oh, go ahead, Christy. You go first if you.
Oh, I was going to say it's probably going to become a bigger problem in the years, and they should just, take away the Series S while they still can.
You think they should
before
just take it
away? Before like the average consumer, they realize that they're not getting the next gen product as what it was marketed as.
Wow.
Because it's looking like that at this point in time, they should have just spent the extra $200, saved the extra $200, and get a Series X, and they would be able to play like Baldur's Gate. They'll be able to play all these other games. Whereas if they purchase the Series S, what games will be available to them besides some games that are backwards compatible? They would still be missing out on the games that's exclusively being released on the Series X.
Yeah.
Unless they have, a PC or a PS5.
Yeah. So, prior to this whole conversation, I was going to completely disagree with what David said. Honestly, now that we've had a chance to kind of like talk about this and really confirm that the Series S is really not being performed well at a technical level, I'm a little more mixed. I must say, I'm a little more mixed about whether or not it should have even existed in the first place. And the reason why I think there's merits to it still existing is something that you actually said a long time, Jarrell. Like, you had made up the great point that at the $300 price point, the same price as a Nintendo Switch, you got into quote next gen, which I think was a really cool concept. Plus, there's the fact that it could be, if it's digital only, that's right for Game Pass users, so they could use that as their Game Pass machine and just like play whatever new games are coming out for the monthly price of whatever Game Pass is. And I think that's I think even today, there's merit to that. I think there's a lot of people out there that do have Series S's that just use it as a Game Pass machine to just try out whatever new releases. So on that merit, I think it's still good. But now that we've confirmed some things on this podcast about how it's becoming increasingly overpowered, how it was probably overpowered from day one, and yet marketed as a next gen machine. Was that?
You mean underpowered?
Did I say what I said? Yeah, what you said. Sorry, yeah,
Overpowered.
definitely not overpowered.
It was extremely overpowered. I was like, oh, I think
Sorry, yeah, no, that's Freudian slip there. Anyway, underpowered from day one, and that is going to becoming more apparent as the generation goes on. Yeah, like Christy said, this is going to become a worse situation the further in the generation we go. That now entire games are just not working for your next gen console. I think that's really bad. Like you got this. Like it's one thing if you got like an Xbox One late in the game, it was being supported for a few years. But you had to have known that with the new console that its days were numbered. So there's obviously that. But getting a next gen console and just thinking you were going to go however many 6 or 7 years of that generation, and now being told, no, pony up for the next. For the higher tier, you wasted $300. Go ahead and pay the $500. I think that's kind of shitty. That eventually
Xbox
people are
Series
going
X?
to just. I think no, it just like it sucks that now the prospect for people is now becoming, well, for 7 years I'm just gonna have not necessarily the most powerful Xbox, but an Xbox that can play games. To now being told you have maybe one more year shelf life before you're just not getting games.
That's like an $800 investment at that point.
It is. Where if they just went for if you had just told them just the 500 to start, that's obviously a better pill to swallow than 800.
Well,
300.
I will say, Gabe, sorry, do you have something to say before I say it and move on?
No.
Oh, really?
Well, real quick.
I already talked my trash about them.
Okay. Yes, Brandon.
Just real quick, I'll say I think for the casual player who just won't necessarily need to play everything, it will probably still be good, but I think for the enthusiast that wants to keep playing these big releases, it's going to catch up really soon. If Baldur's Gate 3 is any indication, it's going to come faster than I expected at very least.
So
I just
mm-hmm.
Oh, I was going to add, I just think it's really sad that the console was released in November of 2020 and we're now finding out about these limitations.
Yeah,
just think about the people who pre-ordered the Series S at that time thinking, oh yeah, we'll be able to play all the latest games on this console. And now, they're now realizing, or they're now finding out, they have to invest in another, in a Series X in order to play like Baldur's Gate 3.
So I want to say two things about this. One of them is, I'm sorry, I'm looking over at Game Pass currently on my Xbox. I'm trying to see something while I talk. But what is this? Okay, I basically want to say that I do think that there is a place for the Xbox Series S, and I do agree with Brandon. I don't think it was a mistake. I think that Brandon touched on exactly what I was going to say, which is Game Pass is the savior for the Xbox Series S, because you can go on right now and, well, the first thing I was going to say was, yes, the game is not going to be available initially for Xbox Series S until they can figure it out down the line, I believe. So that doesn't mean it's not coming at all. It just means you're going to have to wait possibly a very long time until they can get it figured out. And I think with the Series S, that might be the case for a lot of things. It might just be you're going to have to either wait for a very long time, or like in the case of Starfield, I think it's going to be locked. You're just going to have to play at a lower locked rate of whatever game you're playing. And I think that that's okay, because I think that when you're paying $300, you kind of understand, like Brandon mentioned, that you kind of understand, okay, maybe I'm not getting the best version of this game because I'm not playing it on the best version of the console. So I do think that there's a place for the Series S, 100%, especially because, like, looking at Game Pass now, like, you could play Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Everspace 2, Quake 2, Venbu, Celeste, A Short Hike, a bunch of really great games. And I think I talked last year about how a lot of the Game of the Year games had been available through Game Pass, and I know a lot of people who were able to play those Game of the Year games through Game Pass digitally, and, as long as it works, right? Like, as long as you're not trying to do something crazy, and as long as it works, I feel like it's okay. It's fine. I still do think that I don't necessarily think that Xbox lied Microsoft lied. I think it can go up to those, and I think that it's up to the developers to figure out how to make it work. And obviously, we have some developers that are like, "This is trash." Like, we don't want to make it work.
Sure.
And it's hard to work with, which is understandable. I don't even know how it's selling, so I can't even talk about sales figures. But I definitely think it has a place, and I think it's still a good entry into, or a decent entry into next gen, just because it allows you to play AAA titles for $15 a month on this tiny console that can basically fit anywhere.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask about that. I mean, obviously, we don't have hard sales data on hand, but I was thinking about an example going back a little bit. You know, the PS2 was the best-selling home console. I think it still is. And then, of course, the PS3, when it came out, didn't do well in the beginning, and it gained a little more traction later on. But it was in Sony's interest to keep selling PS2 games and consoles because of how well it sold, and they were just kind of doing that side by side. PS3 and PS2 games were like coming out, despite the PS2 obviously being way underpowered. If they had made a game for PS2 and PS3, obviously the PS2 version basically had to be a different version just so it could actually work. My question, because I don't have a definitive answer on this, is if it meant developers, both first party and third party, had to go out of their way to make weaker versions for the Series S, do you think it could have a life that way? And I think the only way we can really answer that definitively is if we knew how well the Series S was selling. If it was selling well, it'd obviously be in Microsoft's best interest to try to find a way to make it work, because they don't want to just abandon that player base. But if the Series S is not doing well and Series X is what's really out there making them the big bucks, then no, what Christy said, they could absolutely just cut the cord and just leave it alone.
Well, obviously, I don't know, but I will say I think they don't. I feel like that's not really a factor, only because remember that a lot of these places are just putting their games on Game Pass anyway. And if it's going on Game Pass, it's gonna have to work on the Series S, because like that's a part of the gimmick. So I don't think that's necessarily a like. In this instance, I don't think that's a figure to really consider, because you're gonna have to do it. You know what I mean? Like it's not like they have a choice when it comes to developing for it. And this is obviously specifically only for games coming to Game Pass, right? So like Baldur's Gate is not coming to Game Pass, so it doesn't count. But like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that is coming to Game Pass, means it has to work for every version to be on Game Pass. So I don't think it really matters.
Okay.
If that's like a fair answer to your question.
Yeah, I was just curious.
Because I don't want to make it sound like it's dismissive. It sounds very dismissive when I say it doesn't matter. That's why I want to be very like clear that I'm not.
No, I get it. It was a curiosity, because I mean, Microsoft just finds themselves in a very unique situation with this mess. So
to be honest,
I just wonder where they go from here. Honestly,
so, I mean, they keep it. Like, you can't just. I don't think you should. I don't.
Discard it. Yeah, no, I don't think so either. I'm just wondering how much pressure I'm wondering if going forward, if they're going to get enough pressure from developers to cease, or the developers are going to keep trying their best. I guess it's going to largely depend on the games that come out and how well the Series S continues to sell.
All right, well, that was fun, but it's time to go. And how are we going to go? By answering the question of the week.
Woo, question time. Let's go.
So, it's a two-parter.
Ooh,
please answer with conviction. Also, don't give me no like, maybe this one, maybe that one. Answer authoritatively.
Jeez, I feel called out here. Rude.
You should answer authoritatively. Answer with conviction. The two questions are, and I'll give you some examples. And this is from Reno the Bouncer on Twitter, who posted, 2023 in gaming will go down in the history books as one of the richest years in gaming for all platforms. And then he posted a bunch of upcoming games and a bunch of launch games, and asked the question, what are your favorite and your most hyped games so far? My question to you guys is going to be, what is the best game of 2023 so far that you've played? Or just in general, that you, even if you haven't played it, if you think it's the best game of 2023, what's the best game of 2023 so far? And what game are you looking forward to coming out, to playing when it comes out this year? Those are my two questions.
Quick question.
Yes.
Can we, for the first question, can it be, what do we think is the best game of the year so far, of 2023 so far? and our top, I'd say maybe 2 or 3.
No, see, this is why I said answer with conviction.
Well,
There's no
no.
answer.
No, but I mean, we all know what my answer is going to be like, but I feel like there's going to be some games that aren't going to get any love because
That's
they're
your
not
fault.
the best of the. How is that my fault?
Because they're not the. I'm sorry, you said they're not gonna get love because they're not the best.
Yeah.
All right, so then they don't get any love. They're not the best. Oh well. Only one
racist.
game can win
tough
game
love
of
out
the
here.
what?
Listen. Racist.
It's racist.
Listen. I'll just go ahead and give this disclaimer to our audience. Like, it's
No
2023. It's no, not disclaimer for me. Just disclaimer for not for me specifically, just for general. 2023 is a great year in gaming.
Don't
There's
give
just
no disclaimers. It's not great
There's
enough.
no
It's not
disclaimers,
great
girl,
enough.
no disclaimers. It's all
not-
tough love here.
Exactly. It's not great enough to knock Tears of the Kingdom out of the top of the list for games. So there's that.
Yeah.
So we'll need no disclaimers.
Yeah.
All right.
What?
So let's go down this list. So the games that have already launched this year: Like a Dragon Ishin, Hi-Fi Rush, Forspoken, Dead Space, Horizon Call of the Mountain, Hogwarts Legacy, Wild Hearts, Atomic Heart, Octopath Traveler 2, Wolong Fallen Dynasty, Chia, Resident Evil 4, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Dead Island 2, Zelda, Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, System Shock, Street Fighter 6, Diablo 4, Final Fantasy 16, Exo Primal, Pikmin, Remnant 2, The Expanse, Baldur's Gate 3, Atlas Fallen, Immortals of Avium, Fort Solace. This is missing a lot.
I figured it could be every single one. That's kind of a lot.
God,
I hear no Ghost Trick on that, for example.
Ghost Trick. What's the one that just came out? From the creators of Danganronpa.
Oh, Master Detective's Archives Raincoat.
Raincoat?
And
That's Shinigami's right here.
Fire Emblem Engage. That did come out this year, right?
Yeah.
That did come out
Oh
this
yeah,
year.
that is.
Along with every
Engage.
single
Yeah, because the
DLC.
DLC went by really quick.
Yeah.
Yes.
That came and went. It was
And,
great.
and anything that is not here that I have missed that you guys
Oh,
can
Theater
think of.
Rhythm, Final Fantasy.
Theater Rhythm, Final Fantasy. Oh, Final Bar Line, so good. Yes. All right. So, who wants to go first? Gabe, you can go first.
Tears of the Kingdom.
No, I will not be going first.
I thought you already knew your game.
I'm going to give you an answer, so I will not be going first.
Oh my God! All right, Brandon. What is the definitive game of the year, best game that's come out so far?
Definitively, with conviction, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Next.
Christy.
Tears of the Kingdom. Although I thought I went first, but okay.
I didn't.
What?
Gabe.
Tears of the Kingdom.
Nice. I disagree. Next, we're gonna talk about.
If you say Final
where's
Fantasy
yours?
16, I'm gonna
Wait,
log off.
what's yours?
I don't think that Tears of the Kingdom is the best game that came out this year.
If you say
Hey,
Final
what is it?
Fantasy
What's
16,
yours?
I'm
What is your
No, it's
definitive
your turn.
answer with conviction?
I'm asking the questions here. I don't have
And
an
I'm
answer.
asking you.
Oh, I don't have an
You
answer.
can't just say you disagree and leave it at that. We
I
need
don't-
to know your game.
But you know what? So, I'm sorry,
have
Gerard
an
can't
answer.
answer this question because he's still playing games from like 5 years ago.
I'm
So
literally not done with the games from this year, so I'm not even playing games from 5 years ago. I'm still playing the games this year, and I'm not done with them. So I don't have a definitive answer currently. And if I did try to answer, it would be lots of non-conviction because I'm not done with these games.
No, conviction.
So the games that are coming up this year, I want to know which one you think is going to be your favorite. And these are not all of them, just some of them. Oh, and I forgot Armored Core. Armored Core is already out. So Armored Core and oh my God, Armored Core and Baldur's Gate 3 are both already out, and those have at least Baldur's Gate 3 has also been talked about as far as Game of the Year goes. But so we've got coming up Starfield, The Crew, Motorfest, Mortal Kombat 1, Lies of P, Payday 3, Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty DLC. Scorn came out already. Assassin's Creed
did it really?
Mirage. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. No, was it Scorn? Which one's on Xbox? Was it not Scorn? Okay, no, then Scorn's coming out. It's out or it's coming out. Assassin's Creed Mirage, Detective Pikachu Returns, Forza Motorsports, Disgaea 7, Assassin's Creed Mirage, I said that already, Lords of the Fallen, Sonic Superstars, Endless Dungeons, Spider-Man 2, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, Just Dance 2024, Metal Gear Solid, MVC 1, City Skylines 2, Alone in the Dark, Ghost Runner 2, Alan Wake 2, Like a Dragon Gaiden, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, The Day Before, Super Mario RPG, Persona 5 Tactica, Dragon Quest Monsters TDP, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, and some other stuff I haven't even mentioned yet. So what is you guys' most look forward to game for 2023?
Do you have to ask me?
No, I know yours, but the reader.
I don't know yours.
Yeah, tell the audience.
Oh, I have to? Yeah, it's gonna be Detective Pikachu Returns. Do you guys not know me?
No, we
do. Know you. We're talking for the audience.
Might not know.
I mean, here, like, I have a Pikachu. Like, it's everywhere. It's like, even on my planner, I have Pikachu stickers. Like, oh my goodness, what is my favorite Pokemon? It's
so, Christy,
Pikachu.
question. Yes. Can Detective Pikachu knock Tears of the Kingdom out of first place for you?
No, because Tears of the Kingdom, you were able to terrorize the poor Korok.
Oh my god.
That's horrible. What's wrong with you? Oh my god. So I'm looking forward to Starfield. I know that's really weird, but I am looking forward to
Just
Starfield.
play No Man's Sky.
All right. What about you, Gabe? What game are you looking forward to?
Go back to Brandon because I have to read through the list again because you said it too fast.
All right, Brandon. What game are you looking forward to?
Definitively with conviction, Spider-Man 2.
I knew it.
And why is it Spider-Man 2? Please go into detail a little bit.
Gabe is still trying to figure it out. Gabe, you know what? You don't have to.
Sorry, no, I have my game. Sorry, I have my game. Lords of the Fallen.
Okay, perfect.
Oh, okay.
And with that, we're
and Super Mario Wonder.
Okay, no, Lords of the Fallen. And with that, we're overtime.
Do a little bit more work.
Bye, everyone.